YouTube, Poison Dart Frog Hobbyist. This is Bradley. I'm here with another video. This is my first host on Dart Frog TV. Idris Brown. He owns Tincman Herbs, owned and operated. I'm here in his house, and we're just gonna get to this interview. It's the first time I never interviewed anybody before, but I've known him for about 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah,
something like
that.
And yeah, we've been cool ever since. So let's talk about frogs. That's why we're here.
Frogs!
All right. So how many frogs do you actually have?
Let's see. I think I have about 81 tanks and maybe about 10 or 12 additional grow out baby tanks. So probably in each tank is an average of 3 frogs. So around 250 to 300 altogether.
Wow, that is very large. I haven't gotten up to that many frogs before, but I remember the first frogs you had were Patricias, and when did you get those?
Oof. Wow, I got those from neighbors, I think, and wow. Those are the first frogs I bred, actually. I think I want to say that was 2012 or 10.
I could have saw that you had them before
that. I had some Highland Bronze from Sean Stewart, in 2004 or something like that. But I think the Patricia I got right before I moved to Queens the second time. I think 2012.
All right. So out of your large collection, which frogs do you like the most, or which type of frogs do you like as far as tinks, dendrobates, etc., and Atamea?
I think I still like the tinks the most because they're big, they're bold, you can see them, they don't hide. They're a little more hardy. Pamilio and the Ufaga, they're beautiful frogs, but if you don't see them, it's very hard to monitor their health and to make sure they're doing okay. So it can be a little more challenging to take care of the Ufagas if you're not getting good looks at them. You can't really monitor their health. So the tinks are more fun. They're just always in your face. They're just always begging for food, and I prefer the larger frogs that are more bold.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense why you named the company Tincman.
Yeah.
And what other type of animals do you have or like?
I've always liked arboreal snakes, green tree pythons, chondro pythons, Amazon basin emerald tree boas. I always thought they were just really beautiful. Their colors, their patterns. They're very aggressive, so if you don't really know how to handle them, you can get attacked, and that's not fun because they're rear-fanged, and it's one of the hardest bites of any non-venomous snake to sustain. You don't want to get tagged by a chondro.
And you keep snakes, right?
Yeah. I probably have at least 8 chondros and emerald tree boas.
Have you ever gotten bit?
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I don't keep snakes.
I've been tagged.
So tell us about tincmanherbs.com or tincman.com.
We just launched the website, I would say 5 months ago, maybe. It's been a long time coming because I probably have been running Tincman for, it's got to be almost 4 years now.
Yeah.
Without a website, just pretty much just making sales on Facebook one-on-one. So it's pretty exciting. It's a little different, a little more impersonal, not dealing with the customers one-on-one like I'm used to. But the site, I'm excited about it. Some new products I'm going to launch this year, and just expanding the inventory and hoping to offer some interactive, some kits that have some custom things in them that will sort of separate us from everyone else's similar offer.
So let's talk about what you have on the site, what products you offer, things like that.
Oh, okay. Right now, I sell supplements. That's one of our flagship products. We offer a Tincman supplement bundle that has calcium D3, which is very important for young froglets, their bone health and development of their bone structure. We offer a phosphorus-free ultrafine calcium, and we include Dendrocare, which is a multivitamin that has pretty much everything that the frog needs, as well as calcium. And we also have a natural rose carotenoid, which is a color enhancer that has been proven to enhance breeding outcomes in Ufaga in a study done by an amphibian biologist. So it's pretty cool. Not only does it make the frog's color better, but it actually will potentially increase the breeding outcomes of the dart frogs. So we saw that, and we also have an egg right, which is a highly concentrated vitamin A supplement. It's um, it's it's good if you have the frogs in like a state of hypovitaminosis A, in a deficiency of vitamin A, I should say, and also if the frogs have been throwing moldy eggs, like bad eggs, over and over. This stuff has been shown to help with that. You really shouldn't give it to frogs if they're just young and just haven't figured it out yet. You shouldn't just throw vitamin A at them. But if they're old enough that they should be, producing viable eggs, and they're not, you can try the product. And,
Too much vitamin A is bad, right?
I
think I remember hearing
anything. Too much of anything is bad. There's not a lot of documentation to prove that vitamin A is very harmful for frogs. I would just, to be on the safe side, I wouldn't, supplement with it regularly without reason. Like if they're in a drought, a deficiency, then by all means give it 2 days a week until you feel that they're not in the deficit of vitamin A. Usually there's symptoms like short tongue. You can kind of tell if the frog is lethargic. You should definitely get your animals checked by a vet to confirm, your suspicions. But, if you're just seeing what you think is like a symptom of a vitamin A deficiency, you can safely try the product, administer it once or twice a week for a month, and then just sort of back it down to bi-weekly, like once every 2 weeks. But it can be a preventive measure, just once every 2 weeks to use the egg right, and it could perhaps prevent your frogs from going into a deficiency, which is important. Preventive care is even more important than treating, because if you don't let the problem happen, you don't have to worry about ever treating it.
Okay. And what other products do you offer?
I have LEDs, which are pretty much our number one selling product. We sell pretty much an LED for every size tank. We offer LEDs down from a 7-watt, 6.5-inch light for smaller footprint tanks to lights now in the 34-inch range, which those lights, they're not even screw-ins. So every LED we have from 7 watts to 22 inches are screw-in to a standard socket LEDs. And our 34-inch light is actually a hard fixture where you just pop the cord in on the end, plug it into the wall, and now you have a light that can potentially handle a 4-foot wide tank.
So nice. 4 foot. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, we have mounts for those lights, and the screw-in lights we sell 12-foot powered cord. Our media is probably our third selling product. We sort of just made it for ourselves. I just wanted a media that was going to be a little more affordable for myself because buying media is expensive, and then I wanted to put probably the best ingredients that you can find into media. So we use organic fruit. We use about 4 or 5% actual carotenoid in there, which has also been shown to increase breeding outcomes when fed. Like when frogs were fed flies that were cultured on the media that had carotenoids in it, their breeding outcomes were better than frogs that were fed flies that weren't raised on carotenoid-infused media. So we put things in it that have been proven scientifically to enhance breeding outcomes in your frogs, and also it enhances color in your frogs. It's, the beets, the carrot, the natural rose, all of that pigment will show up in your frogs when derived through the flies.
All right, so can you show us your facility and a lot of the products?
Yeah, we can go check it out.
All right, cool. So we're about to see all the tanks, and bear with us.
This is like the biggest frog room I've ever been in, I have to say.
Yeah, there's a lot down here. It's a lot.
So it took you probably how many years to like get all of these tanks?
From the time I started collecting like I was out of my mind, probably about 5 years to get a collection like this, properly, not rushing, just getting a little more here and there. And then when I got the house, I got a few more racks because I had the space. But when I was living in the apartment in Queens, I didn't have it. I couldn't. I mean,
so how's the maintenance on these tanks?
It's a lot of work. Before I go to my 9 to 5, I probably have to put in about 30 minutes in the morning, just in feeding every other day, and I would say at night, check on the baby grouse, make sure they're misted because I don't have any of the baby grouse on the Mist King. Just misting, feeding, it's a lot. I'd say it's probably at least a few hours every week just on misting and feeding alone.
How many days per week do you feed, and which days for like the beginners or anyone who doesn't know how to properly feed their frogs?
In the beginning, you should try to feed your frogs every day if you only have a couple tanks. This way, it will be more natural for the animal to have a constant food source available to them. And it's better for their metabolism if they have to chase and hunt for flies constantly every day. When your collection gets to be really large, it gets to be a little bit challenging to find the time to feed daily. So you can switch it, if it gets to be too time consuming, feed every other day, just feed a little more and monitor the animal's weight. If they look healthy and they have good body weight, and every other day when you go to feed, you see a couple of straggler flies, they don't look like they're losing weight, then you're fine. But you gotta really monitor your animal's health. Use your eyes. If the animal looks like it's not getting enough food, you're probably not feeding enough. So,
I know I think like I need to really change a lot of my supplementation around. So that's definitely why I had to hit you up sometime during the week because I need to get that together.
yeah, supplementing is very important because flies don't carry a lot of nutritional value, and while things may not show up right away from a lack of proper supplementation, it's down the road when they start to suffer from a lack of proper vitamins. So you just want to make sure that your vitamins are, people like to use the word like 6 months, 6 months. It's not always 6 months. You keep your supplements cool, dry, in the refrigerator. As long as it's not been a year or it's over a year, it's fine. But as a general rule of thumb, I would say if you have a lot of supplement left and it's been 6 months, maybe, grab a new one.
Yeah.
If you have a little bit left, you might as well just use it all. I go through supplements like every 2 months, so it's literally a box gone.
With a collection like this, I fully understand. So tell us about what type of tanks these are here.
These are actually these are actually from Chris Sherman of Sherman Tanks. Some of these are actually his older model. They've lasted many years. I was fortunate enough to grab some used from a good buddy of mine that was getting rid of them, discount. But I feel these tanks are superior for many reasons. When you're feeding a large collection, it's very hard to have top feeding, latches and whatnot. Although I do have some like that. It's much easier to just go like this, feed, close the tank, and you're done. Just make sure that both sides are closed. But I really do think that the sliding door that Sherman Tanks makes is very superior to most other tanks that we use in the hobby. Just for that reason alone, when you're feeding, you can just use a finger.
Yeah,
and you're done.
I hate top opening tanks. I remember pretty much when I first started, I had everything, fish tanks. What's the blue tank for?
We just I use this just to try to get a little more moisture to stay inside the tanks. Sometimes in the winter, it's very challenging in New York and New Jersey to keep moisture. It can literally be 20%, 25% humidity in the house. And I have a few room humidifiers down here, but that only helps to a certain degree. Even with the Mist King and all that, the frogs can still sense the outer pressure. They know it's dry. And your tank can just, literally, you can have it mist, and then a few hours later, you can see the tank will be dry again. So anything you can do to achieve the proper moisture, this is not cosmetically the best solution, but this is pretty much just a breeding facility. These are not display tanks, so it works.
Yeah, I have all the display tanks at my house.
Yeah,
this is definitely.
So you may not want to use frog tape on your display tanks.
Not at all.
This is just painter's tape. That's all it is. You can just rip it off if you want to lay more insulation in. I do anything that works. I'm all about functionality. I'm not a great tank builder by any means.
I'm definitely
the tank builder. Yeah, you told me to build my first custom tank back in the day. I remember that.
So let's move on.
I've been a little lazy about getting the middle of my frog room on the Mist King, so I tend to do this every other day. I literally just mist the hell out of every single tank by hand with this. It's like a 4 or 5 gallon pump action semi-automatic. No. No, I put some reverse osmosis water in here and I just touch up all the tanks in the middle of the room. And hand misting actually gives me the opportunity to collect tadpoles and eggs and check on my frogs visually. So at least on the smaller tanks where it may not be worth having nozzles on them, I actually like to look at the thumbnails and Rantomea daily and just sort of look in there and see what's going on. But eventually I'm going to get mist king on them because it's just a little time consuming to even do this every other day. It's a little bit, you know, you want to try to reduce the amount of things and automate as much as you can when you start to get a lot of tanks. The hobby can be very time consuming. So, it's very relaxing to hand mist, but, I think I'm going to end up just throwing at least one single nozzle on each tank. And then, I can just maybe keep it on a manual schedule instead of, because they're very small and they'll fill up with water pretty fast. So I'll just keep them on like maybe every other day. I'll have them go on for a minute, something like that.
Yep.
But, everything's been pretty good. I just kind of, and this thing you only have to fill it up once and you can pretty much get 18 tanks.
I think I need one of those.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So far I've had it for about maybe a year and I haven't had any problems with it. When you pump it maybe, I pump it like 8 times. Usually you can do a couple tanks with one pump. Okay, so if you have algae on your tanks, it's really not a big deal. Ideally, you want to clean them when you want to show people your tanks so they can see inside. But when you have bright LED lighting and moisture, over time you're going to get algae growth. You can just take a paper towel and wipe it down, but it doesn't harm the frogs. It doesn't mean the tank is dirty. It's not filthy. It's not harmful to the animals. It's literally just an eyesore. It's something you don't really want to see on your tanks. But some of the breeder tanks that you don't actually use as displays, it just happens. Algae, it just happens. It's not a big deal.
But as far as breeding goes, like sometimes is it cool to have the front plate of glass with a lot of algae where the frogs feel more comfortable reproducing and breeding and all that other good stuff?
I never really thought about it that way, but from that perspective, it could potentially be a little helpful even for shy or skittish frogs. But I think in general, just to let the tank grow out with like those plants that, the weed type of plants that just literally will just grow in and just take over a tank. For skittish frogs with breeder tanks, you let the plants grow out and they'll feel more secure. You might even get more looks at a frog, ironically, if you have more things for it to hide. So the more opportunities the frog has to hide within vertical space, the more opportunities it will explore that tank if it knows it only has to go an inch to hide behind the leaf or an inch to hide. So the idea is to, even a 20-gallon tank, for example, if you have it planted properly with lots of accents and hides, it can actually be more usable space than a 40-gallon tank that's just barren with just leaves only. So you want to have wood, plants, everything occupying vertical space in the tank, because what good is 40 gallons if 35 of the gallons is just space that the frogs can't occupy? So you want to have objects in there for the frogs to use, hide behind, and utilize. But it's true. If you cover sides of a tank with, we used to use the black paint on the sides.
Yeah.
If you cover them with paint, or you use contact paper, or even background, if you have the time and patience to put background on the sides of the tank, they do help frogs feel a little more secure in some instances. But planting it, there's nothing like planting a tank properly and just letting it grow out. That really helps. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys that these are 3 18-inch cube tanks. These are all custom Sherman tanks, enclosures with the nice sliding doors. And basically, what I decided to do for lighting is just use 2 of my 22-inch LEDs. What we did, instead of wasting 2 cords, is you see this socket adapter? So there's a socket light adapter here, 1 cord, and it's a dual splitter. And essentially, it's just, see?
Man, that thing is bright.
Yeah, this is an opportunity to plug in a light. It's a socket to plug light. These things were like $2. And you just plug it into an adapter that has 2 outlets. And we sell these on the website now.
Nice.
So you can just plug in 2 lights, and now you have a 48-inch light based from 2 smaller lights.
Cool.
So you have a lot of leeway and flexibility with the lights. These are new setups, sort of a generic setup. Whenever I get frogs in, and I just don't have the time sometimes to make a very elaborate setup. So I'll just throw faga, like large obligates. I'll
throw a couple of large water-holding bromeliads into a tank with some wood, and over time, some of these plants will grow in. But I have some saddleback histrionica here, some bullseye histrionica in here, there's some antichaia here, and there's some Bahia Solano in here. And essentially, if you're setting up a tank for large obligates, you'd like to have it growing a little more. So these are a little bit premature tanks. You'd like the plants to sort of grow in, have some wood accents, have some things for them to hide. I've been going away from using backgrounds just because I find that most of the stuff just peels off, and everyone uses the Type Bond and great stuff and all that stuff, and it's very time consuming for a larger collection. If you're making a display tank, like
That is me.
when you're making a bunch of tanks, it becomes very difficult to put that much detail into every tank. So I like to give the frogs the essentials for functionality, and if I have the time.
I love building tanks. So yeah, me. I couldn't live with this. This will drive me crazy.
Now, see me, it's a functionality thing. I actually don't have the time to build a more elaborate setup for each animal at this point, but I will go in and add some wood, and I'll make sure the cuttings take off and at least grow in so they feel secure.
Yeah.
Like this plant's not really growing out, but the frogs are very healthy. These trio of bullseye actually proved out. There's a female in there, so I've gotten clutches from them, and they're very young actually, so they're doing pretty well. And there's 3 Ichikaya in here, and you can see that saddle. It's really beautiful. The color is just striking.
Yeah, that frog is amazing. I can't really zoom in, but it's pretty decent.
Yeah. So, and you want to get it for large obligates, you want a tank to be about 24 inches tall. You'd like to have a 24-inch footprint if possible, but you can get away with 18 inches deep and 24 or close to 24 inches left to right. So even in an exo, like a 18, 24, 24, 18 inches deep and 24 tall and wide would be acceptable for a pair of large obligates.